Hello everyone, my name is Chase and this is my presentation of my senior project, Fourth Wave Feminist Magazine. So I'm a fourth year graphic communication student with a concentration in DRT and a minor in political science. And I'm graduating this spring. So before I graduated, I wanted to complete a project that combined my creative and political passions in an inspiring way, and that is the Feminist Magazine. I came up with the following problem statement, which is this. The idea of feminism is negatively misconstrued, and much of the controversy surrounding feminism stems from perpetuated stereotypes and misconceptions. Although feminism may mean something different to everyone, the advocacy for women and non-binary rights should not be overlooked. This magazine will be a collection of articles and imagery which clarify misconceptions, define feminism, and highlight women and supporters alike. This magazine is an opportunity to educate and inspire future feminists. I came up with 3 project deliverables. The first deliverable was research and a collection of at least 5 written assets that supported the magazine's objective. The second deliverable was a collection of 2 to 3 images for each article that enhanced the written content. The initial plan was for all of these images to be free, but I ran into some issues, so some of them are free and some of them are not. And obviously, the final deliverable is the magazine itself, which was printed and perfect bound. I did a lot of research going into this project, including topics about misconceptions, definitions, and important figures in the feminist movement, and this research influenced the final articles that I selected. I also researched magazine design and feminist design because, again, I wanted this magazine to be effective and inclusive. With all of that knowledge, I created a mood board, which you can see here, and that sort of helped me decide which layouts I wanted to use, which sort of imagery I wanted to use, and how I wanted my design work to flow. Here is a quick screenshot of my planning. I would say that my project pretty much went to plan as far as this schedule goes. The only issue that I ran into was timing with regards to collecting assets and designing the magazine itself. I think that I gave myself a little bit too much time to collect the assets and not enough time to do the actual designing. And by the end of weeks 6, 7, 8, I was starting to feel a little bit unmotivated and I was slacking off a little bit. And to sort of combat that issue, I decided to dedicate Wednesdays and Thursdays to senior project alone. And so on those 2 days, I worked really hard on this project, and then I could relax and work on other schoolwork throughout the week. Digging into my workflow process a little bit more, I started with asset refinement. So after I had done all the research and I had the articles that I wanted to use, I needed to refine those. And that included grammar, spelling, and removing hard returns, which would just make my life easier in InDesign. And I also had to refine my photography. So the photography from Unsplash was really easy to work with. Some of the people photos that I was using throughout my magazine were a little more difficult, and so I had to really adjust the image size and crop those images so that they would print well. After that, I designed a first draft, which did not contain any of my final assets. The purpose of this first draft was to brainstorm my content, lay it out on the page, and ultimately figure out how long this magazine was going to be. After that, I made a final draft with all of my refined assets, paragraph styles, character styles, and page furniture. Rather than doing a multiple draft process, I treated this final draft as like a working document. I then designed my logo. I wanted to do this last because I wanted the logo to really reflect the aesthetic of the final magazine, which was changing frequently. And that is how I settled on Fourth Wave, which is in the Larkin typeface, and it's just very clean and minimal. And then finally, I went into the production phase. I ran a pre-flight using the settings that we established in 440 to save some time. And then I worked with Steve in the department to impose the magazine, print the magazine, and bind the magazine. Overall, it was a very hands-on and fun process. However, we did run into some challenges with imposing printing and binding because neither one of us had intense experience. So I think in the future, I would maybe go about that part of the project differently and either stick with a digital magazine or turn to someone with a little bit more experience, like UGS, for example, to print this magazine for me. Because at the end of the day, I do want to have this for myself and I want to have it in my portfolio and I want to make sure that that work looks good. Here is a final look at the magazine. All right, thank you so much for listening. I'm looking forward to putting this in my portfolio.